Yeah, this is what Jack McClam has been saying for a long time. Officer Jack McClam, the highly decorated police officer who has been doing a shortwave and radio for so long with Operation Vampire Killer, alerting, our law enforcement, our military about the New World Order. I can't believe how much you guys have taken off. When I first heard of it, I thought this is a great idea. We had you guys on the show, and I really, admire you for taking this on. This can't be easy. But I'm surprised.
I get it from both sides. I get people, of course, now that Obama's in power, leftists who loved me when I was writing about Bush being an abuser of the Constitution. Now they call me a traitor. And on the flip side, I have people on our own side, or supposedly on our own side, who are wondering why we're stopping it short of. We just say what we won't do. They want to know, what are you going to do? And they want us to march on Washington and force Congress to do this or that. And they both don't get it. The oath is meant to prevent a president from becoming a Caesar, but it's also meant to prevent juntaism, which is the military just doing a military coup.
Yeah.
The whole point is that it just denies the power, but it doesn't have the military rise up and take over the government itself. That's going from the frying pan into the fire. Our position is it's the role of the people. It's the obligation of the people to fix things, not the military. You should be happy to have the military simply sit out of it and not get involved, unless there's foreign invaders, of course. Then we would expect them to step up and stop that. But when it comes to domestic stuff, you don't want the military involved domestically. You just don't.
I love how the picture, they're framing you guys up as a militia, all of this.
Right.
I mean, these liberals, this is the definition of cognitive dissonance. They can't understand that now there's a new president, that there's still a problem that has to be confronted. There's still a Patriot Act. We just had this American police force moving into Montana, as I'm sure you saw. Luckily,
yes.
We stood up as citizens, and the people of Montana stood up and kicked their asses out of there. As I mentioned, we had Blackwater patrolling the streets. I mean...
Well, our Montana director for Oath Keepers wrote Sheriff Big Hair up there. He wrote him a letter saying you should arrest these men. They're violating the Montana Constitution, which precludes the entry into Montana of any armed body of men without the approval of the legislature. And also they are impersonating police officers. And so, so the people in Montana, know the deal and squared that away pretty quickly. But yeah, it's the same thing we saw during the Bush years. A lot of conservatives were asleep at the switch; they just couldn't even see it because it's a worship of personality. So the founders made a very clear point that you don't rely on good men being at the helm. You create a structure where you hopefully will have good people, but if you don't, it's not the end of the world.
Who was the shill POS, I will say, who was on that show with you from the Southern Poverty Law Center?
That's Mark Potok.
Yeah.
Right, who's never taken an oath in his life. He's never taken an oath in his life.
We look at you two guys, and you could tell who's the crazy guy just by looking at you. But, I mean, isn't he at all concerned that police or military might rise up and start killing Jews or blacks or homosexuals or something?
Well, it's kind of weird. Yeah, whatever happened to the photos from the '60s of police dogs biting peaceful civil rights protesters and fire hoses being turned on them? Wouldn't you have liked those police officers to have said no to those things? But apparently, once they're in power, they forget all that history. All they want is blind obedience. So a Marxist in power is as bloodthirsty and is ignorant about any limitations on power as a Nazi in power. What's the difference?
How many robo-cops, Carlisle robots, and super soldiers are dedicated to uphold the oath of the Constitution? Have you seen these things? Have you seen these things they call the Beast? They were patrolling the streets up in Dearborn, Michigan as an experiment. They're manufactured by the Carlisle Group, which involves the Bushes, the Bin Ladens, the Queen of England, some pretty weird people. It's an equity group, and they're just buying up media and everything. Well, they have these
I've heard of them. Yeah,
these robo-soldiers now. They're also patrolling, I guess, the Fallujah or something now. How many of them are taking the oath to defend the Constitution?
You mean the sound cannon
I'm talking about the robo-soldiers that you can find online anywhere. These are actual robots that act as police, and they'll shoot, and they'll go after criminals, and they'll corner criminals. I mean, I'm just saying, we want to get these military and these police and National Guard to take an oath to defend the Constitution. But what if they just send these robots out? I mean, they're not taking any oath. I guess somebody has to control them, right?
Yeah, you got to have a guy on a joystick. It's like right now with Predator drones, and someone's got to fly those things. So if the guy flying it remembers his oath, hopefully he'll accidentally crash it.
Well, what if these are private individuals working for the Carlyle Group on the joystick, or really programming them to ignore orders? I mean, it just seems to me that this is, besides Blackwater, besides American Police Force, the modern-day Hessians, these mercs out there working for anybody who can pay them, it seems to me that these guys don't take an oath, and neither do the robo-cops. I mean, that is an inherent problem that has to be attacked. No, Stewart?
Well, are you talking about private security forces? Well, most of those guys are private military. So even someone from Blackwater, I would hope that when it comes to being used here at home, that they'll remember their oath. I mean, we don't shut the door on any of them. If they've taken the oath, we'll reach out to them. Now there is a problem when you've got automatic decision making by machines. I mean, certainly the race towards artificial intelligence and combining that with like say a Predator drone, that'd be a scary thing. So what's the answer to that? Well, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe we stop from getting that far.
The future is here, and it is definitely something that needs to be considered. Not that you guys need to tackle all of this all on your own, but it's certainly something I have to put out on my radio show. You know how the robo-soldiers and the robo-cops know you're not an enemy?
How's that?
Well, you got to have a chip.
Oh, is that right?
That's how it works.
This is a prototype, I take it, right?
No, it's out in the streets.
Where?
Just Google The Beast, Dearborn, Michigan. If it's still online, I might still have it on my website. So those are on the ground here, used in experimental capacities generally. So, prototype, well, they take them from Iraq and they put them here. Just like our soldiers that go house to house that have been on 5 tours of duty that can't tell the difference between right and wrong anymore patrolling our streets.
Right. Well, I mean, like the sound cannon that was used at the G20 was also used in Iraq first. And so, yeah, whatever's used over there, unfortunately, we should expect it to eventually come here.
Did you see that? That brings me to the G20. I want to get to in the next segment. I want to get to all of your updates because you guys got a lot of cool stuff going on here that I know my listeners want to support and want to listen to. What was your reaction looking? I mean, I was looking inside the G20 going, oh, they've just given away our economic sovereignty.
Right.
That's a problem. But outside, they're going after protesters with LRADs and everything else, and you see them lined up, beating their shields like that, terrifying the public. And then there's a little guy with a video camera, Luke Radowski, going, remember your oath. Where were you?
Right.
You shouldn't do this to us. Think about your lives as people.
Right.
What was your reaction to all that?
Well, Luke's one of our forum members, and so it wasn't a surprise at all that he did that. Problem is that there you had a situation kind of like in Katrina where you had police brought from all over the country and nationalized. And, of course, they're going to probably pre-select who they're going to bring. And then once they're there, they're put in that riot control mindset. So it's kind of hard to reach them under that circumstance. Assuming they can even hear you and all that stuff. So by then it's almost too late. But he did the best he could. But that's an example. To me, what I saw there is as an old saying that if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so once they were in that mindset of riot control, they overreacted and they painted with a big broad brush.
Stay with me for one more segment, man. I know you're really busy, but I want to get all the updates and all the stuff you guys are working on. So let's talk about that when we come back. Stewart Rhodes is with us from oathkeepers.org. Tell every cop, every military person you know about these guys and spread the word. We'll come right back to spread the word. Stay tuned.